Alternately, if it is interpreted to read as person only in the case of a same-sex marriage, then there will be a distinction between same-sex and heterosexual couples.
That again,
Because in the case of a heterosexual couple, the husband cannot claim maintenance under 36. But in the case of a same-sex couple, we would be reading it in such a way that either spouse can claim it from both.
but one of the men can. If he claims that I am the wife,
Depends. Oh, it depends. Yeah.
he says I am the wife. Or in a lesbian couple, one of them say that I am the wife.
Because one of the arguments made was if you identify yourself with that role.
Orientation.
Orientation, role. Role was the word used.
Role was
That
the
I
word.
play the role
Right.
of a wife. It says, if the wife establishes that she has no means of income,
Right.
she can apply, and husband is under an obligation to give her maintenance pendently. Now, my lord, first of all, there cannot be any decision by the court who is the wife in same-sex relationship. I'm not elaborating, my lord. But if your lordships were to read person instead of husband and wife, correct? So one person will be entitled to claim maintenance from another person, meaning thereby, in case of heterosexual marriages to which this act applies. In fact, it applies only to them, according to us. A husband can also claim maintenance pendently from wife.
And
Heterosexual.
alternately, if it is interpreted to read as person only in the case of a same-sex marriage, then there will be a distinction between same-sex and heterosexual couples.
That again,
Because in the case of a heterosexual couple, the husband cannot claim maintenance under 36. But in the case of a same-sex couple, we would be reading it in such a way that either spouse can claim it from both.
but one of the men can. If he claims that I am the wife,
Depends. Oh, it depends. Yeah.
he says I am the wife. Or in a lesbian couple, one of them say that I am the wife.
Because one of the arguments made was if you identify yourself with that role.
Orientation.
Orientation, role. Role was the word used.
Role was
That
the word.
I play the role
Right.
of a wife. And which court, my lord? How can the court decide what is true?
That will become a preliminary issue.
It would
That will become a
Jurisdictional issue.
It would be. My lord, therefore,
issue.
and
That's an impossible.
and again, my lord, fundamentally,
That inquiry, you say that who
apropos your ladyship's my lord remark, your ladyship is right. Under section 24 of the Hindu Marriage Act, that permits both husband and
Wife to-
to claim.
Either party to marry.
Yes, my lord.
That's why we've come across in many.
We lordships come across because 36 of this act restricts only entitlement to wife.
Wife.
In that sense, it was a progressive enactment.
Yes.
Because it recognized that
It could be a husband.
Any one of the two spouses could be destitute.
Even section 124 CRPC
I was just going to say-
entitles even parents to claim
Yeah.
maintenance. Parents, children, etc.
of those things because of amendment.
In Muslim law, my lord, it's different again.
For 125, the obligation is straight on his wife. Neglects to maintain his wife.
the
His
lordships are on
legitimate or
125?
illegitimate. 125.
125, my lord, yes.
His legitimate or illegitimate minor child.
His wife, unable
His
to
legitimate or
obtain
illegitimate
or
child.
his
His father or
legitimate
mother.
illegitimate children, his legitimate or illegitimate child, his father, mother, etc.
125 doesn't apply to women.
That's again is restricted to.
But 24 per se talks of husband or wife.
Yes. Either way, my lord, if wife is more, my lord, has more means of, my lord, income, etc.,
Very strong.
then husband can also, my lord,
That's right.
claim maintenance. Now, my lord, last section, 39A, Special Marriage Act. I'm not, my lord, troubling your lordships any further. 39A, enforcement of decrees and orders. All decrees and orders made by the court in proceedings under Chapter 5 or Chapter 6 shall be enforced in the like manner as the decrees and order of the court made in exercise of its original civil jurisdiction for the time being are enforced. Lord, I'll show there are separate provisions in CPC for execution for male and for female. Lord, now
Mr. Solicitor, therefore, looking at the conspectus of these provisions, perhaps we can conceptualize your argument by saying that reading the provisions of the Special Marriage Act, and if the court were to make an effort, as the petitioners say, to reinterpret the provisions, there would be three major problems. One, it will involve substantial rewriting of the legislation. Two, It may also involve the court ignoring some provisions which have been introduced as a matter of public policy, as we saw the additional grounds in the case of a woman for divorce. And third, it would involve reinterpretation of personal law, because there are segments of the Special Marriage Act which specifically contain a reference to the personal law. So there is no way in that the third category, there is no manner in which the court can avoid the interface between the Special Marriage Act and
the personal
law.
And I'll respectfully add the fourth, that court would not read any statute so as to make it applicable to one class differently and another class differently.
You cannot adopt a dual approach.
I didn't follow that.
So philosophy permits.
Yes, Lord. And Lord, there are several questions, Lord. Some of the questions were
Mehta, just to clarify, 39
Everything
once
is one. Everything is not one. Our philosophy.
Lord, and with the ingenuity of lawyers and litigants, my Lord, it may not be a far-fetched idea, my Lord, that a heterosexual couple can come and say that now apply me the provisions which you have read for LGBTQ, because we may be heterosexual, but internally cannot. I feel differently, etc. I don't wish to elaborate any further, but it opens room for several Lord, complications which your lordships cannot conceive right now. So now,
will you repeat yourself on what you were pointing out in section 39, appeals from decrees and order? What was the point you were making?
Core of our philosophy.
Section 39.
39A, my Lord, the decree will be executed as if it is decree of the civil court under civil procedure.
Right.
And I'll show there are separate provisions for male and female under the CPC.
And made it administered. Made it a solicitor. Yeah.
Just 11 minutes, show your lordships, my Lord, how other provisions would become unworkable. Quickly, just illustratively, please come to my first note yesterday file, my Lord, page 61.
Just 1 second.
Lord, it is note 1. It's a submission on the question that only legislature can deal with. That's, Lord, the title. Yesterday's note, my Lord.
Yesterday's note.
Note
Page
1.
61, that is 64. PDF 64.
Just 1.
65, sorry.
PDF 64, note 1.
God, not 1. PDF 65.
Ye kahan gaya?
Yeah, yes.
Petitioners.
Lord, now
Para 112,
114.
114.
Next page, Lord, maybe you're
I
ready.
think.
Yes. No, you had read up to 113.
Yes, but 114. I'm not going to read the whole.
What's the
I'll just give
PDF
the
page?
flavor of other provisions which will be affected, my Lord, which are not before your lordships. Now, my Lord, Indian Succession Act undisputably applies.
65.
Yes.
My Lord, Indian Succession Act undisputably applies to all except Hindus. Hindu would be governed by the Hindu Succession Act. In a given situation, if he marries Hindu, otherwise Indian Succession Act. Now, this also, my Lord, kindly just 1 or 2 sections, just for the flavor. Domicile acquired by woman on marriage. By marriage, a woman acquires the domicile of her husband if she had not the same domicile before. So it will have to be decided who is the woman. Wife's domicile during marriage. A wife's domicile during her marriage follows the domicile of her husband. For passports, etc., this issue would arise and you will have to decide who is the wife. I'm not reading all, but my Lord, Succession Act provides for widow, widower, husband, wife, father, mother, etc. Well, just highlighted part also, if you can, lordships can read. 33A, a widow but no lineal descendant and the net value of his property does not exceed 5,000, the whole of his property shall belong to the widow. Now, my Lord, if in this relationship one partner dies, whether he leaves